Hey Justin, how are you doing today?
Hey, good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
How's New York Comic Con treating you so far?
It's like a dream. This is awesome. It's so cool to be here.
I mean, one big role, especially with Midoriya, I feel the main role that most people are going to mention you for. How did your audition process go for your role?
That's kind of funny because it is one of the most just regular auditions I've ever been a part of. They thought this show was going to be pretty popular. Turns out it was. But they really wanted to get the right people for all the right parts. So they auditioned a ton of people. I just came in for like my 10-minute slot, read for Izuku and a handful of other people, and then left. I was like, well, I hope something comes of it, but if I don't hear anything, then that's that. But here we are.
Who else did you originally audition for by chance?
It was like most of the Class A kids were available, so definitely Izuku, Bakugo, Todoroki, could you imagine? Mineta, I think, Kaminari, stuff like that. Just anyone, I really wanted to be a part of it.
I mean, I talked about this a little bit with Zach. Do you ever read ahead of your story from where the manga currently is to prepare yourself for future scenes at all?
Not exactly to prepare. I do read the manga for sure. I've been reading it since I got cast, or even before that, I should say. And I'm just a fan, so I like to see what's happening. I like to kind of be aware of what's going on Twitter and all that when it all goes down. But I don't like to get attached to certain line reads or certain translations that I think sound neat, because I know that's inevitably going to change when we get into the booth. Yeah, I mean, I love knowing what's happening. A lot of folks, that's not their exact process, but it works for me. I can't possibly keep track of every manga that I'm a part of, but a lot of them are really great, so I wish I could.
Are there scenes in particular for any of the mangas or anime you're a part of that you are like, oh, I'm gonna have to do that at some point?
Yeah, especially in Hero starting out, I remember the sports festival, that big fight with Todoroki. That was one of the most recent things that was in the manga, and I remember reading that and saying, okay, I think this is going to be a big deal when we get there. So when the episode did inevitably come, I really I felt a lot of pressure to get it right. So that's kind of the double-edged sword you play with.
At some point, My Hero did get a game. It got two even. With it got One's Justin and then the sequel, which is actually finally introduced English vocals. How is it to voice act from the anime going over to a game?
So much fun. I mean, anime and video games were such a big part of my life growing up that, I was part of this big kind of anime that everyone loved, and that was really fulfilling. And then to be on the video game side of that is awesome. And it was a fighting game. That's the sort of stuff I grew up playing and loving. It's just really cool. It's nice to see these language options available for fans of either side of the show that you watch.
How did the process change for recording?
Yeah, it's way different, actually. Because with the anime, you're always recording the picture. You got to get the timing. That's everything. With the video game, there's a lot of cues that, as long as you match the general length of audio file that you get, you can kind of play around with it, have a little fun, get kind of creative with it. So it's a little less rigid, but a little more you have to let your imagination do more of the legwork than seeing it happen on your monitor.
Do you have a dream role at all for if you were to take part in an anime, any game?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff I'm a fan of. I really love One Piece on the anime side of things. It's always kind of a pleasure when I get to pop up in that and do, your background vocals and stuff. Big fan of comic books, so Batman, Teen Titans, X-Men, all that would be really, really cool. I like those big ensemble casts, so it is kind of funny that My Hero ended up being that as well.
For whatever role, do you remember what your first reaction was hearing your voice in the project?
It's really cool. It's almost unbelievable because you never really are certain that what you do is going to be in the final product until it's there and released. So then you can finally be like, I can talk about it. I can tell people I'm in it. All that. My personal background was a lot of theater and singing, so I think a lot of folks starting out will tell you I don't like the sound of my voice, or it sounds weird to me, but I got over that at a pretty early age. So that part of it, it's not weird to hear myself. It's cool.
How much of the story for your role is mentioned to you ahead of time? If you weren't keeping up with the manga for whatever product you're working on.
We don't get a lot of it. Certain directors will tell you more or less depending on their personal style, but usually just enough to get you in the scene or some context that might be crucial to what's happening. We will never spend too much time going over what's gone on in the past episodes or arcs. That's just sort of a little homework I have to do if I want to.
How is it working with different voice directors?
Oh, it's great. They all have their different sort of directing styles and methodology. So it can be a little daunting at times when you're like working with a new director for the first time to kind of get acclimated and get up to their speed. But otherwise, it's a fun little challenge. And once you get comfortable with directors, then you can start really playing and having fun. And that's the best part of it.
And one bigger question, more on like the mental side of things. Do you ever feel like fans have issues separating the character from the actor at all?
I mean, sure. I do. I get often, especially meeting folks at conventions. All they know of me is my voice until they walk down my line and see this person there, and that can be. I'm sure there's a disconnect because a lot of people love these characters so much, and it means a lot to them, and especially for younger folks, it can be a big part of their identity, what they watch and who they relate to. So I just try to be, I'm a fan just like everyone else who comes by, and I really love getting to work on all this stuff. I consider myself very lucky, so I like to pass that good fortune and good vibes on to the people that I meet. And
yeah, it's just helping keep that good connection, but obviously trying to still keep away from like a parasocial kind of relationship.
Right, like
them.
I personally am not Deku, I'm not Luck, I'm not these characters, but I am a small part of what means so much to these people. So I respect that, and I'm very, I don't take that for granted.
Do you have a favorite scene you've done at all?
Yeah, I think the second My Hero movie, was a really, really great culmination of that show, the storylines, and getting a little glimpse into the future of these characters. That whole movie was just, I think, a dream process for me. I'm really proud of the work we got to do there.
Any specific scene in that movie at all?
Yeah, the big fight scene toward the end. I won't say too much, but once you know it's happening, you'll know.
Definitely strain the voice a little bit at that
point.
point.
Yeah, we tried to bring it.
What do you think is your most underrated role that not enough people talk about?
Oh gosh, there's a bunch that I really, because they're all my babies in a way, so I put parts of myself into all of them. There's a show called Non-Baka that I played Nico in. That's if I told you what it was about, you wouldn't believe me. But it's a really funny, weird comedy show, and I remember having such the time of my life working on that with our cast. So I'm really proud of that, and the few who've seen it really, really tend to enjoy it. There's a new one I was in called Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. Again, the weird, misleading title. Great show, really sweet, and I think over our quarantine period, a lot of folks started getting into that one, and I see a lot of love for it now. So that was another one I'm very proud of, and I hope more people kind of tune into.
I don't remember if I've asked you this yet. Do you remember what your first reaction was to hearing your voice in your project?
Oh, I think we did cover that a little bit, but it's cool. It is really cool. You don't really ever know it's going to be you until it's finally out there. So, and I have, I've had limited instances where I've recorded and I'm like, I'm so excited to see this come out, and I hear it and it's somebody else, or they, a last minute recast or something. So, but yeah, it's awesome, and being able to be a part of these shows that are really cool and out there now is really humbling.
I think that's basically what I got for you.
Okay.
It was nice talking with you, of course.
Likewise, thank you so much, of course. Thanks for meeting with me.